This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 248 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show, football, fishing, and flowcharts. Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible.
Our sponsors this week are Kentucky Performance Products at KentuckyPerformanceProducts.com and Horse Quencher. You can find them at HorseQuencher.com.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for the Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. The Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
This is Glenn the Geek.
And this is Helena B. And you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network.
Well, howdy, Helena.
Howdy, Glenn. How are you?
Good. We have a fantastic show planned for today with a lot of terrific guests. We're going to be talking to Jody Werner today of Dear Murray fame, and she's back here every month talking about one of Dear Murray's columns.
One of our favorites.
We have another Jody coming on with something a little different today. She is Jody Kelly, who's a dressage professional out of Destin, Florida, and we're going to talk to her about life outside the horses because of the way she grew up. She has an interesting life, and she wants to tell us a little bit about that. And then also Dr. Renee Tucker with a book that Helene and I both really like called Where Does My Horse Hurt? We're going to talk to her about that book. So we got a jam-packed full show. But before we get to that, I just wanted well, there's two things we wanted to chat about. I'll do mine quick. And I wanted to thank everybody for the comments and for the emails and for the Facebook posts. We got more response to last week's show about Lyme disease in people. It was heartwarming, the people that contacted us and wrote to us. I had people saying that I didn't understand what my family was going through or what my sister or my brother was going through, and I feel really bad. I'm going to talk to them about it. And I had people that have had Lyme for years, and it just helped. It helped validate what they were going through and still going through, and that they're not nuts, And it was. We had 10, what did I tell you, 6 or 8 times the normal downloads for that show that we normally do. So a lot of people listened and took it to heart, and I really appreciate all the support and all the thank yous for putting it out there. And I want to let you know, Helena, that I have, thanks to last week's show and the guests we had on, I have gone back on the diet.
Good.
On the Lyme diet. Started that day, actually. I went ahead and told Jennifer, who's been trying to get me to do it for a while now again. And I said, well, this show did it, my guest did it, so I'm going to do it. And I have been for the last week. So today, one of the things you have to do is get off of sugar and a lot of carbohydrate stuff. And after about 5 days now, I'm sugar crashing. And I remember this from before. You sugar crash. You don't have any energy. And it's like, oh, man, why did I do this?
Yeah, it's hard. But it's, you got to do it. And it's like quitting anything. You just got to.
You have to get through the withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
It's true. You do have them. I mean, with sugar, you just have a couple days of feeling with like no energy.
Yep.
Yeah. But so I am doing it. Just wanted to let you know that.
All right. Well, all your fans are behind you. We're supporting you.
Thank you. And
I'm going to go have some cake for lunch.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Helena. So anyway, you had some bad news last week that kind of surprised me because we had not talked about it.
We have not talked about it, and I wouldn't say it was bad news, but it was a challenging week. I had to euthanize my quarter horse last Friday, which was planned. Zeke. And Zeke has been my reason for being since he and I first met almost 8 years ago.
My wife went and got that horse together, didn't you?
We did, yes.
In
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania. And he, I can't even begin to, everybody knows, anybody who's had one of these horses knows exactly what they mean to your life. They become essentially your higher education. They teach you about not only horsemanship and riding, but they teach you about humility and perseverance and responsibility and care and all of those things that just make us better human beings. Zeke was absolutely 1,000,000% one of those creatures. And he was in a lot of pain for a long time. And I spent a lot of energy and a lot of money keeping him comfortable. And so my goal, with having him at home, even just in the last 3 years, was to make sure that he was comfortably pasture sound. And the blizzards that we went through this winter were really tough on all of us, but especially on Zeke. And I knew coming out of the winter that this would probably be his last year. And really just in the last couple of weeks, it was very, very difficult for him to even move around despite, the drugs he was on and so forth. He couldn't even have his feet trimmed comfortably. So I knew it was time. And I contacted my vet, my favorite vet. Came out, and last Friday was the most beautiful spring day. I mean, it was stunning. And I was fortunate enough to be able to put him down in a very comfortable, safe spot. He was absolutely not stressed. He had no idea anything was going to be different about his day than any other day, except that he got a little extra sugary grass. And he's buried right here in the property. So we can all sort of stay together and, we could see his spirit off safely. And he's free from pain. So I have to say that while I miss him terribly, there's a great relief in knowing that he's free from the pain that he was in for a long time.
Right. Obviously you did the right thing. It doesn't make it any easier a lot of times.
Oh, God, no. Oh, no. Trust me, I was a sobbing, blubbering mess for quite a while. But I know he's thanked me. He's thanked me many times. And he's still thanking me.
Well, and you had a lot of good years together too. So on a horse that was just supposed to help you get around a little bit, turned into one of your lifetime horses. Which, I remember when you bought that horse, it was just, I need something to ride that's not going to kill me.
Yeah, that was it. He's just a camp horse. Listen,
right.
Just a camp horse. He was a camp horse who'd been, probably run ragged. He had a whole lifetime before I got him, and he was already kind of broken. And of course, I don't ride my horses hard. So he'd already come to me with a been there, done that kind of attitude and body to go with it. But we took great care of each other.
Well, he was lucky to have you too. I mean, that's the other side of that story. Because
Thank you.
You took care of him better than he would have had if he had stayed in Pennsylvania where he was.
You're not kidding. It takes me like 10 minutes to do my barn now. I feel so bad. I feel guilty for being like, wow, this is easy.
It is amazing how when you reduce the population, how much easier it does get.
Yeah.
Well, our best to you and big hugs.
Thank you.
We've all been through it, so thank you for sharing that with everybody.
Sure.
We've all been down that road. Well, let's head off now to Jody Werner of Dear Murray fame with her monthly stop here with one of Dear Murray's articles. Well, hi, Jody. Welcome back to the show.
Well, good morning, Glenn and Helena. Good to be here.
Well, it's good to have you. Now, we always start off this segment with you reading one of Dear Murray's columns that he answered. So I think we'll do that the same way again today.
Okay. Do you want to read the letter and I'll read his reply?
No, I'd like you to read it.
Okay.
You read it. It's
You're
always more
lazy
fun
today.
when you read it.
You're really lazy today.
I am.
It's he's off of sugar, Jody. So
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, no energy.
yeah, we got to baby him a little bit.
Well, you just sit back there and leave it to me.
Okay.
Dear Murray, my girl likes to jump me. I like it too. But this guy she brings to the stable always puts it down and says that he plays a real sport called football. What's the difference between riding and football? And it's signed Dist. And Murray's reply is, Dear Dist, let's see. Your girl sits 6 feet in the air on a galloping animal that's hurling itself at obstacles and is being judged on staying in perfect sync with a 1,200-pound teammate that's 10 times her size and can at any time choose to hurl her into next week. He chases a little bitty ball around. Aw, don't you just want to pinch his cheeks and tell him how cute that is?
Simple.
Yeah.
Very
We'll pause
simple.
for effect here.
Yeah. You do. You do have to pause after that one and go, wow, never thought about it quite that way before.
I
Yeah,
found
that
myself
was-
unexpectedly in next week as well. Oh, hey, what do I do here? It's
Everyone has
Thursday.
been told that riding isn't a sport and that, quote unquote, the horse does all the work. And,
Yes.
and as we used to say in Oklahoma, them's feuding words.
And not only that, you did end up in next week, Helena, but that next week cost you a year.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would, maybe I could get launched into the future at some point. Would that be
Well,
better? Would I look younger?
Or the past. Maybe we should, I don't know. I don't know which direction's better to go.
I know.
I am acquainted with a former extremely famous pro football player who actually rode the hunter jumper show circuit for quite a while after his football career wrapped up. And he did say that riding was much harder than playing football, but in deference to all the football fans out there, he also said that he much preferred falling off his horse, which he did a lot, bless his cotton socks. He much preferred falling off his horse to getting sacked by a bunch of 300-pound linebackers.
Yeah, I can see that. It mustn't be much fun when you're in the bottom of that pile every time. I mean, it's...
Yeah, but you know what? I wouldn't have a problem falling off my horse if I was geared up like those pro ball players. Shoulder
That's true.
pads,
You
mouth
do get to wear a lot
guard,
of padding.
face mask,
Yeah, what do we wear? A helmet?
Right.
Although I guess the eventing people pad themselves up a little more than we do. They wear the...
I'll tell you, those
Body gear and all of that.
inflatable vests have saved a lot of injuries now. They really have. Well, this is definitely a fun one. Now, you said this one kind of went viral, huh?
Yeah, I posted it, and it got like 700 or 800 shares within the first 30 minutes. So apparently this is a subject that's near and dear to the hearts of many horse owners.
No,
who have
it's
listened
near
for
and dear
years
to the
about
hearts
how
of
you are.
horse girls who went and took this, printed it off, and showed their boyfriends and their horse husbands and said, here, shut up about it. That's exactly what happened, right?
Well, sometimes the cure for horses aren't a sport and the horse does all work is to just make someone post the trot without stirrups for just like 30 seconds, and then that sort of just settles the whole argument once and for all.
You've never done that to anybody, have you, Helena?
Who, me? Never. No.
I put an ex of mine on my horse one time after he begged and 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 he begged. I said, okay, you can ride him. And he walked around for, maybe 5 or 6 minutes. And he begged and he begged and he begged. And I said, okay, you can trot. He wanted to gallop, of course. But I said, why don't we start with the trot, just a trot. And I swear Murray trotted 2 steps, and it was like a cartoon. The guy he just toppled off the side of him as soon as Murray started to trot.
And you laughed, didn't you?
You could not laugh. You could not laugh. And Murray, of course, just stood like a statue, and he was looking at me like, "What did I do? Am I in trouble?" I'm like, "No, Murray, you're not in trouble. Good boy. Just stand there."
Matter of fact, Mary, we're going to put him back on. Do it again.
It was kind of comical. I mean, it was a perfect slapstick comedy moment with just 2 short steps, and he just kind of.
That is funny.
The sound effects are spot on.
Yes. Those were not
Yes,
added digitally.
I think we've all been told that the horse does all the work at one point and another.
Oh, yeah.
Riding careers.
Oh, yeah. Well, this has been great. Where can people find Dear Murray's columns?
Dear Murray is on Facebook. Just search for Dear Murray, and you should find him.
All right, very good. So search for Dear Murray on Facebook. Thank you so much, Jody, for joining us again today.
You are very welcome. Good day to you both.
Is your horse not drinking enough? Whether it's from weather changes, minor illnesses, trailer and traveling stress, there are many reasons you'll have a horse refuse to drink sufficiently. Yet being fully hydrated is the first line of defense against minor issues becoming major. There is a product that helps even the pickiest of drinkers drink more, All Natural Horse Quencher. Listen to what four-in-hand champion Chester Weber has to say about it.
Since I was introduced to Horse Quencher, I've been wildly impressed with its ability to keep the horses in the water buckets drinking, and it's given me real peace of mind. One often doesn't know they need a product until they're introduced to it, and this was a product I didn't know I needed at all, but due to the traveling that we do, it's been really helpful. It's also been very helpful with horses that, are a little colicky or something like that. Will always hang a bucket in their stall. They'll drink more, and their general health will just be better.
Take it from Chester Weber, Horse Quencher is the all-natural product you want to help your horses drink as much as they should. Find it at your local feed store or tack shop, or online at horsequencher.com. That's horsequencher.com. Well, before we get to our next guest, I just wanted to say we just had the commercial for Horse Quencher. That stuff really does work. Jennifer was saying the other day that Beaker was having trouble, or was not having trouble. He wasn't drinking as much as she thought he should after a ride, and he is always that way. And she was just afraid his hydration wasn't great that day, and it was a little warmer here in Florida. So she put some of that in his bucket, and she said he runs over. He loves the stuff. He said he actually takes his lips and he swishes his lips around in the bucket and then drinks a little and then swishes. And she said he drinks it slowly, like to savor it like you would a good alcoholic beverage.
Yeah.
And he does that when he drinks the Horse Quencher. So this stuff really, really does work for what it's meant to do. So check it out at horsequencher.com. If you have a horse that has a little trouble drinking or should be drinking more when you work with them or go away, or anybody that travels with their horses should have this in their trailer. Horse Quencher. It's all natural, and it really does the trick. It's like candy for horses, but it helps keep them hydrated. Next up, I saw a post on Facebook by one of my Facebook friends. Her name is Jody Kelly. She's from also here in Florida, and she's a dressage professional, and she's been on the dressage radio show a number of times. And when I saw her post, I said, I have to have her on the show. She grew up, and one of the things that Helene and I like to do is take a look beyond the horses sometimes with professional riders, because most of them have other lives with their families, and they have things that they do that we're surprised about. Well, in Jody's case, it is a life on the sea, and we're going to talk to her about that. She is a boat captain's daughter from Destin, Florida, professional rider Jody Kelly. Well, welcome to a new show for you, Jody. Welcome to the Stable Scoop Show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, now, Jody, you've been a regular and been on with Reese and Phillip over on the Dressage Radio show, but tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into horses and why you ended up in dressage.
Well, I am a dressage rider out of Destin, Florida, and I got into the horses because of my mom. She rode her whole life and rode growing up, and she dragged me down that slippery slope from a very young age. I had ponies growing up, and I actually started out doing a little bit of everything. I had fantastic ponies that if there was a jumper show anywhere near, I was jumping. If there was a hunter show, I did the hunters. If there was an eventing show, I did lower level eventing, and the same with dressage. And my mom was primarily a dressage rider. She did 3-day for quite a while and then switched to mainly dressage. And I had some jumping trainers, and honestly, I loved the jumping, and I always combined it with the dressage. And I had this one particular jumping trainer that said, "You can't keep going back and forth. It's too complicated. You have to pick one." And I haven't taken a jumping lesson since. I thought, okay, fine. And I went the way of the dressage, which I don't think is what he was expecting. And I haven't looked back.
Okay, you're fired.
I love it. Okay, you're right. Exactly. That's a little bit how it went. So I really jumped into the dressage head first, and as a result, I met my trainer, who is in Holland now, who led me to be able to work with Ankie van Grunsven in Holland, who is a multiple Olympic medalist and world champion, and you name it, she's won it. And so I was very fortunate to grow up going to Holland every summer and work in her barn, and I started going there when I was 11, and that just had me hooked for life.
You started with Ankie when you were 11?
My idol since then. I did. I started going over there for the summers, and I was fortunate enough, my trainer, Twan Hoof, his family lives right there in that town, so I was able to live with them and kind of be a kid in their family, and he would drop me off at her farm every morning, and I was a working student at Ankie's.
Jody, you lived every little girl's dream.
I did. I totally did. And it was the best ever. I just have nothing but wonderful, wonderful memories, and I understand. I don't totally speak Dutch, but I understand a lot of Dutch as a result of it. And it just, I wouldn't trade those summers for anything in the world.
Do you realize that 3/4 of our audience now hate you, Jody? You know that, right?
Oh, that's nice.
Hate's a harsh word, Glenn.
No, I'm just kidding.
It is.
I'm
We're
just
not
kidding.
use the word
Jealous might
hate.
be a little
It
better.
might be a
Insanely
little jealous. Yeah, not hate. A little jealous.
Well, no, not jealous. Envious.
Envious,
Green with
Envious. Okay, envious is okay. Yes,
Envious is
and
okay.
and I totally see it. And it was one of those things that I literally just stumbled into it. It was somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and it just was amazing. And it was a fantastic way to grow up going over there. And then I still had all my horses here at home and worked the rest of I was over there for a couple months in the summer, and then I was home for the rest of the time.
Well, and one thing I do know, Jody, a little bit from just having worked with you now and following you on Facebook and everything, and Jody is very appreciative of everything that she has. I would say not a DQ. So I'm gonna throw you in not the DQ category.
Well, I appreciate that. I try very hard not to, and at the end of my 12 and 14-hour days, I don't feel like a DQ.
at the end of that 12 and DQs around the world.
Right.
Well, Jody, now one of the reasons we wanted to have you on today is occasionally here in the Stable Scoop Show, we like to take a look past the horses because we all have other lives. Our families are, as yours.
Speak for yourself, horse husband.
Well, we have families, though, that really aren't into horses, and we might go do things with them and that kind of thing. And you did a post that really hit me, emotionally. It hit you emotionally when you posted it. But I found it fascinating. You grew up not only with horses, but tell us what your dad did and tell us about the place you grew up.
I grew up in Destin, Florida, which is a very small town in the panhandle of Florida. It's like between Pensacola and Panama City. It is a beach town. It is a fishing town, primarily, and there's a huge billboard as you come across the Destin Bridge. It says, "Welcome to Destin, world's luckiest fishing village," and that's it truly is known around the world for its amazing fishing. And my dad is a charter boat captain, and he was born and raised in Destin. The Kelly family is one of the original founding families of Destin. And so, he truly has grown up here on the top of what we call the top of the hill because the land is a little higher and you go like down the hill to the water. So he grew up on the hill. And over the years, of course, it's developed a lot and it's become quite the tourist place, which it's a double-edged sword with that. We love our little quiet town, but at the same time, it's the tourists that make us thrive and make us what we are, and and keep us all afloat. But it just is. It's an incredible town full of amazing fishermen. And my mom was here actually on vacation, summer vacation one year, many years ago, on her way to law school when she met my dad, and 30-something years ago, she hasn't left. And it's a town that sucks you in, and it's a town that, for me, will always be home. I can't fathom living anywhere else. And growing up with the horses, there are no other barns in Destin. My parents had a very small barn next to their house in Destin, and we had a couple horses. And when I was starting to ride when I was little, people would call my mom all the time and ask her about, if they could keep a horse there, if they would rent horses, blah, blah, the same thing. And she and my dad decided to open up this barn where we are now, which is also still in the heart of Destin. And we have a 34-stall barn right here in the middle of Destin now. And as I was growing up, I really feared that I would have to move away. As I realized I was going to become a professional, that I'd have to move away and follow the typical circuit and go up north in the summertime and go down south in the wintertime and, do the rotation that everybody does. And I just kind of gave it a shot here, and we've discovered that it's kind of one of those, if you build it, they will come regarding the horses. And we've got a wonderful barn here and a wonderful group of clients, and it's all just kind of worked. So as a result, I get to have my horses, and then I have this whole other life with the boats that I really just can't fathom not having. And my dad is the captain of a 65-foot sport fisherman charter boat, the Relentless, which he actually built in our backyard.
What? Really?
He has run 3 boats in his life. The first one he refinished when he got it young with his grandfather. And then the next one was the charter boat Lady K that it went in the water when I was 1. So I don't remember watching the whole thing, but that boat he also built in our backyard. And he buys them as a hull, which is just basically, that boat was 56 feet. So it was like a 56-foot canoe when he got it. And he built it from the bottom up and completely everything. You name it, he did it inch by inch. And he ran that boat for almost 20 years, or a little over 20 years. And then he built the Relentless, which is the one that I'm familiar with because I watched him, again, build that. He bought it as a 65-foot, again, canoe, just a fiberglass hull, and it has the bulkheads in it, and that's it. And he built it, every inch of it, with some of the guys from, his deckhands during the wintertime. So while he was running the Lady K, he built the Relentless, and it was amazing to watch the whole process, and not your typical way to have a boat, but it is a beautiful, beautiful boat, and something that I'm so proud of for him, and just that he built it. And I was with him the day he put it in the water, and when he towed it around to the harbor, it just was like to hear the radio crackle, like when everybody saw the boat come around under the bridge. It was amazing, everybody talking about his new boat and stuff. So, my dad's a true fisherman. And
it sounds like you get a lot of your dedication to your work and the things that you love. Maybe, just wondering that you might have inherited it from your family.
From my dad,
there's a lot of work that goes into boating, and like you said,
there's a lot of work. He leaves the house at 5:20 every single morning. He's up at 4:15. And, I'm pretty sure I can speak for him when I say he truly loves what he does, and that's something that I've been lucky enough to have as well. Like and kind of like him, it's like I've worked every day of my life, but yet I don't feel like I've worked a day in my life, just because when you love it, it's not always work. Granted, some days I'm sure he thinks it's work when he's dragging himself out of bed in bad weather and whatever, and I do too. But generally speaking, I have really been lucky to get that from him, and that whole follow your dreams attitude, because it's a risky thing to do. The fishing business is very risky, and the horse world is very risky. I'm lucky to have a barn full of horses right now, and he's lucky to have a book that's full of charters right now, but it could all be gone tomorrow. If anybody, there's no guarantees in what either one of us do, but
not to mention that Destin is right in the heart of many hurricanes over the last 10, 15 years.
You got it. We are right. And literally our barn is less than a mile from the water. Destin at its widest point, because we have the bay on the north side of us and the Gulf is on the south side of us.
Yeah, you're kind of a peninsula.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the end of Destin is to the west of us. That's where the Destin Pass is. So the only land that is connected is east of us. And it's not large, and the water has washed. It doesn't wash completely over Destin, but we've come darn close. But we have a very, very strict hurricane plan. My mom is a condo manager also on the Gulf. So we have this plan that when we put it, it all sits there quietly during hurricane season until we make the move to go. And my dad has a plan for his boats. They move all the boats from the Destin Harbor around to the bay side into the bayous. So we watch the Weather Channel like a hawk, and it's like you sit there and do nothing, and then when you make the decision, it's like I'm not going to say everything breaks loose, and it's wild. But do
you move all the horses out?
Yes. So I'm in charge of getting the horses rolling, but we have it down to, we know which leg wrap is going to go on each horse. Like we have which horse is going to go in which trailer, which truck is going to put which trailer, who's going to drive it, which buck is going which trailer. And, and it's big enough to load 30 horses, but you imagine you load 30 horses, with each horse goes 3 buckets, 2 bales of hay, 5 bags of shavings. Like that's the minimum. And that's what every truck and trailer leaves here, with the buckets and the hay and the shavings for the horse that it's hauling. And we have a barn in Mariana. I'm sorry?
I love that you have it memorized. It's like right.
Oh man, it's been in my. I mean, it's been etched in my brain since the time for as long as I can remember. Now I'm just kind of more in charge of the horses. My mom goes. So when we do have this, like, put it into place, my dad goes straight to the boats to start moving all the boats around, because that's a really, really intricate thing, because you not only have to move your own boat, but all the boats have to be tied in a certain way that when the wind shifts, because the way the hurricanes come across, the wind blows out of the one direction first, and then as the eye moves over, the wind shifts, so they come from the completely opposite direction. So the boats always have to face into the wind, so the way that you tie them, they all swing around so that they're always headed into the wind. So it's a really intricate way of tying all the boats up so that when the wind shifts, that they don't all swing and hit each other and destroy all the boats. So it's a really important thing that not only your boat is tied correctly, but every other boat in the bayou, so that they all are safe.
Yeah, I guess if you have one that's loose, you're in trouble.
Exactly. One loose boat could take out the entire fleet. So Dad goes and does that. My mom gets her condo all closed up and does that. I get the horses all, in motion, and then my parents usually lock up, and then I take off with the horses, and they finish up with the boats, with the condos, and they come back to the barn and get any loose ends, and they lock up all the houses, all the everything, all the extra animals that have to come, and they usually bring up the rear with the whole plan. So it is definitely quite an orchestra of events, but we've done it before. We can do it again. We don't love to do it, but we got it. It's worth it. It's worth it to live here. That kind of fluster and that panic and that, and it's actually not a panic, because we leave it well enough in advance, but that kind of worry is worth it to live where we live, and
Tell us a little bit about, we have the horse community is an interesting community, and we tend to help each other out because there's, you have to.
Right.
And, we all try and do that the best we can. Now, I would say some disciplines are better at that than others, but I know it's that way also with the fishing community, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And the thing is, it's kind of one of those things that everybody has their own schedule. It's very much like the horse community. Like, everybody does their own thing and has their own schedule and is on their own path until they need something. And it's amazing. And sometimes it takes something like a tragedy to realize how unified they really are, just like the horse world. And just recently, what the thing that you saw on Facebook that really, really touched me beyond belief was last Thursday we have the blessing of the fleet. It's called every single year, and Dustin has what we call the week of blessings, and they bless the marketplace and several different blessings throughout the community all week. But Ascension Thursday is always the blessing of the fleet. And what they do is all the pastors in Destin are invited to this one church that's just at the top of the hill. And I've actually never seen this part of it because I'm always down on the boat. But all of the pastors from all of the churches are invited, and a large number of them come. And they actually hold a church service Thursday afternoon. And I believe they have a big fish fry up there as well. Again, I've never been on that end of it because I'm always on a boat. But then after the service, they all come together and walk down the hill out to one of the longest docks in Destin that comes out into the harbor. And it's really cool. It's a big ceremony, and it's a very very neat thing to watch. They're all in their robes and they come down, and usually they sing and all that kind of stuff. And then the boats, the charter boats in Destin, it's all boats. It's not so much just charter boats anymore, but it's all boats that make their living on the water. So, and with it being a tourist town, there's all different types of boats. But each boat gets blessed individually. So we all line up through the harbor, and as you pass by, we back up to where all the pastors are, and they say a blessing for your boat and your crew and your captain and your fishing season that's to come, because our big season is the summertime. And it's just one of those very traditional things. I'm almost 30 years old, and I have never once missed a blessing of the fleet. It's just what you do. You plan your spring around it. I make sure that my show schedule, my clinic schedule, my horse schedule never is interrupted by the blessing of the fleet. It's just something that we all absolutely don't miss every year.
It reminds me, Helene, of the blessing of the hounds. When you're a fox hunter, you never miss you always go to the blessing of the hounds.
You just don't miss it.
About it.
Yeah,
because it really becomes an important part of your life. You count on that blessing, man. You count on
You
it.
do. You count on it. You absolutely count on it. And the first year a boat goes through the blessing, and I was fortunate enough to be on the Relentless the first year. The very first year is blessed. They actually come aboard and nail a cross onto your boat. It's like every boat that goes through the blessing has the cross that they put on. And I mean, and I'm telling you, these fishermen, they count on it. They rely on it, and that's what they go through their season relying on, But so this year was one of the biggest ones ever. It was amazing. The whole harbor was full. My dad estimated probably close to 150 boats were blessed last Thursday. But then what made this one, and it's always a very, very special event, and it's always very meaningful to everybody. But this year it was extra special because we had one of the local fishermen who's been in this town. His brother actually said that he's known my dad for over 44 years. But he passed away several weeks ago. It was a few weeks before the blessing of the fleet. And he was he was one of those old-timey fishermen. He'd been around forever. He wasn't a captain. He didn't have his own boat, but throughout his life, he had worked on almost every boat, and his family is very well known. They all work on the boats throughout the fleet, and all the captains know them. And my dad always says these guys, the Martin family, that they can catch a fish out of a mud puddle. They're just those kind of fishermen. They're just great, great guys. And one of the brothers passed away, and they held a big, almost like a party. They did a celebration of his life up on, again, what is called the hill, which is under this big oak tree, and it's just kind of the place. Now it's part of a parking lot of a condo, but for all the locals, it's the hill. But we had a big fish fry, and they had a thing for him, and we were talking about what we were going to do with his ashes, and my mom was talking to his sister, and my mom said, why don't we spread his ashes during the blessing of the fleet, because then the boats will all be out there, and it's kind of they can say a prayer and do the whole thing. So from there, the idea went, and my dad had a sign-up sheet up in the co-op, like where they all get their fuel and their ice and all of that stuff, and a couple of boats had signed up to come, and the way the Destin Harbor is, you have the harbor, and you run along the land, and then there's a point that you go around that leads to the pass, which takes you out into the Gulf. And it's very small, it's like a 5-minute run out to the Gulf, which is kind of what makes Destin so famous. Usually there's a pretty long run to get out to the Gulf from the protected harbor. But my dad had asked a few of the boats if they would go out into the pass and wait for us and, kind of go out with us to dump his ashes. So we had the Martin family on our boat, and we were one of the last ones to get blessed. And they had all been talking about it on the radio, and, that radio crackle where they're all just chatting, and you go upstairs where my dad is on the boat any time of the day, and there you can just hear all the fishermen, talking over top of each other and chattering away. And so my dad was thinking we would have like 4 or 5 boats like on each side of the pass, and they would follow us out and, kind of do this nice little ceremony. When we came around the point, there were at least 40, maybe 50 boats. They were all out in the pass waiting for us with Charlie's ashes, and they were all facing north, which faces the Destin Bridge. And it was like this most beautiful, perfect night. All the boats were facing the same way, and it kind of goes back to that, like, if you imagine at a horse show where everybody's doing their own thing, everybody's, it's normal for the harbor and the pass to be very busy, but again, everybody's on their own schedule. The boats are all going different directions, different speeds, that have different agendas, but they were all stopped. They were all sitting idle. They were all facing north, and it was just this I have goosebumps talking about it. It was just this unbelievable calm and unity that you can't describe. I mean, you can't, and I have 1,000 pictures of it, and not one of them really does it justice for what it really means, So we came around the point and went down, and the boat split, like, as we went down the middle, headed south towards the Gulf. And as we passed each boat, they're like blowing their horns and they're whistling and they're yelling for Charlie, whose ashes we were spreading. And they all turned around as we passed them. They turned around and followed us out. So we went down the pass, and we stopped counting at over 30. that actually turned around and followed us all the way out. And that was just because you couldn't, like, the boats went back as far as you could see, and we just couldn't see the little spots anymore.
Boy, the family must have been an emotional wreck.
Oh my gosh, there wasn't a dry eye on our boat. It was truly the coolest thing. I said to my mom, I think that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in the Destin Harbor. And she said, I'm pretty sure that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And she's been here a lot longer than I have. And it was just this perfect moment, in the moment that we came around the point and they were all there, it just was the neatest. Words can't describe it, and pictures don't do it justice, but it was just one of the coolest moments and just really tells you who the Destin fishermen really are. You take out the tourists because it was there, you don't charter the boat for the blessing. It's all of their families. You take out the tourists, you take out the business part of it, you take out the fishing, and it's just them. It's just these great guys that are here and just amazing. It was just cool. It was just really, really neat. And so they went all the way out. We went out to the jetties, just past the jetties till we got in the Gulf, and they all followed us. And so, it filled almost the entire path as we were going out because they were, you have to keep a different space between everybody while they're running. And then when we got out there, we stopped and waited for them, and they all crowded around us before we spread the ashes. And it was literally like boat to boat. You almost could have walked from boat to boat. It was that we were all packed in, and everybody was around. And my dad's got these really loud speakers on his boat, and so we played I'll Fly Away, and they spread Charlie's ashes, and his wetsuit, because he was a big diver, his whole dive suit went down with him. And then as soon as they did that, the music was playing, and then all the boats, the boat horns are really loud, and all the captains laid on their horns for a minute or so, and it was really just one of the coolest things, and just made me so proud of my town and so proud of all these guys, and it's something that I'll never forget, and it's just one of the many reasons that I will always live here, and it's just, this will always be home.
I'll tell you what, you have both of us in tears here.
This is one of the nicest stories that we've ever had, I think, on Stable Scoop.
It really was. It was just the coolest thing. I can't say enough about how special the whole thing was, Well,
Jody, I got to tell you, you paint a wonderful picture. You're a great storyteller, and that probably comes from being a captain's daughter too.
Maybe I can tell a fish story like you wouldn't believe.
That's right. The fish are 12 feet long.
Exactly. Just like my horse goes, he did the 10 for Piaf all day long.
Or my horse never does that.
Well, Jody, where can people find you? Where you have a website?
People can find me at jodykellydressage.com. And anybody that wants to fish, it's relentlesscharterfishing.com is my dad's boat. And we have a lot of tourists. That's the other thing with our barn. We have a 30-stall main barn, and then we actually have a 4-stall guest barn where I have a lot of people that come on vacation here because this is, again, it's just people come to the beach, they bring their families, and a lot of the time the argument is the daughter, the son, it's not many husbands, but usually the mothers or the daughters don't want to leave their horses home. So we built this guest barn, and we have a lot of people that come for vacation. The kids or the moms come ride their horses first thing in the morning before the rest of the family wakes up, and then they go to spend the rest of the day at the beach, or they go fishing, or they golf, or whatever. So we do a lot of that.
That is great. Well, thank you, Jody. This has been wonderful. As I said, you're a great storyteller, and we are so glad that you came on to share it.
Absolutely. I'm happy to. Thank you so much.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
Spring is here, and so are pastures full of luscious green grass. Spring grass is high in vitamins, minerals, and sugar. Most horses have little problem adjusting to the changing sugar levels found in spring pasture, but for at-risk horses, grazing on sugary grass can lead to big problems such as colic or laminitis. By paying attention to daily temperatures and following a couple of simple rules, you can limit your horse's access to such sugar-laden grasses. In the spring and fall of the year, limit grazing or stop it completely when daytime temperatures are warm and nighttime temperatures are below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Under these conditions, the grass produces sugar during the day and it stores it in its leaves. At night, the plant transfers the stored up sugars to the roots and stems to fuel the growth. If the evening temperatures are cold, the grass will not make that transfer and all of the sugar will remain in the leaves where it is readily available to your horse. In the summer, when days are sunny and nights are warm, it is safe to allow grazing in the early morning hours, but it should be restricted late in the afternoon or evening. This is because most of the sugar that was produced the previous day has been used for growth overnight. Therefore, the level of sugar in the leaves is low in the morning. But as the day progresses, the grass once again accumulates sugar in its leaves in preparation for nighttime growth. So later in the day, the more sugar-packed leaves become. Because grass is a great source of essential vitamin E, horses that are restricted from grazing, especially easy keepers and horses in hard work, may develop vitamin E deficiencies. Lack of vitamin E can result in sore, stiff muscles and neurological problems. Elevate Maintenance Powder from Kentucky Performance Products is an affordable way to provide your horse with the vitamin E missing from his diet. Each scoop provides 1,000 international units of natural vitamin E, and natural vitamin E is absorbed and retained in the tissues at a much greater rate than the synthetic vitamin E found in many feeds and supplements. Best of all, when you choose a Kentucky Performance Product supplement, you get a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
And today's Tack and Habits segment is really exciting for me because this is a book that I love. I actually bought it from my trainer over Christmas time. And we're going to be talking to, well, somebody's going to be talking. Clearly, I can't. We're going to be talking to Dr. Renee Tucker, who is the author of Where Does My Horse Hurt? It's a hands-on guide to evaluating pain and dysfunction using chiropractic methods. So here we have Dr. Renee Tucker.
Well, hi, Dr. Tucker, and welcome to the show.
Well, good morning there. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, now, we're having you on, as we said, because I have right in front of me one of my favorite health books for the horse world, I think, is Where Does My Horse Hurt? A hands-on guide to evaluating pain and dysfunction using chiropractic methods. I love this book, Dr. Tucker. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. Have you been a horse person? Were you a horse person before a doctor?
Yeah, kind of strangely enough. I grew up in Chicago, and I have a lot of relatives. My dad's one of 12. My mom's one of 14. So I have a lot of relatives.
Holy cow.
I'm the only person in my whole giant extended family who likes horses. And I grew up in Chicago without a horse. So crazy. I just, saved up my babysitting money and got horseback riding lessons every week and read every horse book in the library, ended up a horse veterinarian. So it's just one of those
we
things
need to have her back
you're going
on
to be a
for
horse
career
person.
day.
Yeah, career day.
Yeah, that didn't work out, yeah. So that's how I got into horses. I just had the horse bug and it never left.
You must have 1,000 cousins. I was just thinking of all those aunts and uncles. You must have 1,000 cousins. It's like...
I know. I don't even know who they all are. I've never
bet.
met half of them, at least. Yeah.
Well, now, how did this book come about, and why did it come about?
Well, gosh. Okay. So I've been working just as a equine chiropractic and acupuncturist for the last 13 years. So I graduated from vet school in 1995, which is like a lifetime ago. But anyways, I kept running, as I was working on chiropractic and acupuncture, I kept running into people where they're like, oh my gosh, if only I had known this. And if I can tell you one of my favorite stories, if you don't mind.
Sure.
It's a good example. There was this 17-and-a-half-hand warm blood horse named Doolin. And I get out of the car, and this owner, Jill, she says, well, listen, if you can't fix him, we're going to have to put him down. I'm like, what?
No pressure.
Yeah, you're right now, right? Yeah. And the trainer comes up. He's like, well, you can't fix them. We're burning them down. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. You know? Anyways, apparently
Whatever
this
your
cat,
vet wants
this
to
horse-
hear. It's all up to you, Doc.
Yeah, totally. Like, okay, pressure. They had, this guy was lame, okay, at the trot for only about the first 10 minutes of warm-up. He's dead lame. And then he'd warms out of it. Okay, and then it's the even weirder thing is he'll do it on either front foot and be dead lame. And she's taken to the university. She's got x-rays, ultrasound. She's got nuclear scintigraphy scans. She's done the whole thing, and upwards of $10,000 she spent on this horse. And so the short story is the horse ended up having ribs that were subluxated right behind his shoulder blades. And he just had, I don't know if anyone's had ribs out in the audience, but I mean, those can really hurt, okay. And then you put the saddle on and girth it up, and it hurts even more. But you kind of get used to the pressure, and, 10 minutes, and then he would get comfortable. And let's face it, the horse was a sissy, all right? He's just a wimp. But that's what was wrong with him. I adjusted his ribs, and he never did it again. And that was the first encounter of, oh, my gosh, people need to know this, because it's just not that hard to check a horse. It's a little more tricky to fix it. But the book is about how you can check your own horse and find out if there's anything like that bothering him.
Well, I
Basically
really,
trying to save you
I
several
really,
thousand.
It's
Go
the
ahead,
oh my God, I can fix this. Like that is right there. That could take up a person's entire horse life. Oh my God, I can fix this, because you can waste so much time and so much energy that you could otherwise be put into training and enjoying your horse.
Yeah,
but so it's just that idea that if something is wrong, it's not so intimidating. So it's like, where do you start?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think I need to call my vet, and they're thinking medication, they're thinking needles, they're thinking x-rays, but you're saying, let's just put our hands on our horse first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Okay.
And same with not on the vet, but do you call your trainer or one of your many trainers, or, of course, ask all your friends, and you'll get 20,000 opinions, and then maybe need a new saddle. Maybe need
that's
another,
just asking two friends.
Yeah, that's right.
Two friends, 20,000 opinions.
Good
Those
point.
opinions multiply.
Well, one of the things I
Right.
really like about this book is you break it down very simply, and you took the time to do charts and graphs, and by the way, can we give a shout out to the person who did the illustrations in this book? Are excellent.
Oh, yeah. She's awesome.
Who is
Yeah.
it? I
She's
can't.
a vet tech, actually. Patty Cap. She's a vet tech in Washington, and she actually had some horse bones, some horse skeletons laying around because she's a vet tech. So hope that doesn't gross anybody out. But she would sit actually the bones on her table, and she's an artist and draw these bones for me. It was amazing.
Well,
So,
I know, Helena,
very fun.
you have this book, and the diagrams are just, her drawings are excellent. I've been very impressed.
Yeah.
They're some
That's
of the
my
best I've
favorite
seen.
part.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it is? And it's the good use of, this is really good editing too. It's the combination of diagrams that support the text. So when you're trying to explain a point, it just so clearly illustrated with the diagrams. And the diagrams are just well done. It's good,
Mm-hmm.
good artistry.
I don't want people to freak out when they hear charts and diagrams, too, because that kind of freaks me out. But it's not hard. It's all meant to be really, really simplified.
It's very friendly.
And, so that everybody can do it. Yeah.
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 Very friendly.
Well, and then there's a ton of pictures to back it up too. When you talk about how to test for this or that, you're showing it in pictures. It really is a well written, simple. I don't mean simple in a bad way. I mean simple in a good way.
Right.
Book. It's a horse husband approved book.
Yeah, it's a horse husband.
Wow.
As well as a
That's
horse
awesome.
person's approved book. So that's, those things don't always come together.
No,
We're not
they
always
don't.
in the same world.
They don't even come together in marriage most of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. You guys
Well,
are
I want
funny.
to ask you about one of the things that you have featured in here is, that you mentioned is the activator for horses.
Uh-huh.
And I happen to be a huge fan of the activator for people. I've had both like manual adjustments and activator, and I absolutely love the activator.
What is it, by the way?
It's like a pneumatic hammer type of thing, majiggy. It's a thingamajiggy the chiropractors use.
And that's a good word.
Maybe
Yeah.
Dr. Tucker can explain it better than
Well, I can try. try really briefly, because, adjusting is about force, and force is mass times acceleration. So how's that for a physics flashback? So you can use less force, and you don't have to be a big giant person. And because when you use those activators, there's a little, kind of like a gun, a fake gun that shoots some little thing out there and makes a clicking sound. But it's going so fast that you need less pressure, and it just clicks on you, and it doesn't hurt at all. And it can perform adjustments, and it does work really good on people. The thing with horses, it can work good on some horse parts, but other parts, there's just way too much mass, too much muscle in between what you're trying to reach and that activator. So I've had actual human chiropractors who do use activators tell me that activators don't work near as well on a horse. I know some people use them, and as I said, some parts will work well, but not all of them.
Okay, I'm still going to use one on my horse. Well, you know why? Because one of the things that I do whenever I tack up, and Glenn, I actually learned this from Jennifer, and it might have more to do with muscles, but I think it also has to do with just helping them prepare their spine for riding. As soon as I girth up, I don't girth all the way up, but probably about halfway up, and then I'll lift their front leg to sort of stretch, and it pulls the skin out from underneath. But I just find that they're freer and a little bit more comfortable in those first 10 minutes of warm up. If I lift and stretch the front legs. What does this have to do with the activator? Probably nothing. But then again, that's just me. That's just the way I roll. But no. So the other thing I love, my horses have their own chiropractor because you do it once and you realize how much comfort you can bring to your horse. You'll never not have a chiropractor look at him again. But one of the things I found is just turnout, is having my horse is having enough room to buck and gallop and roll, so they sort of self-adjust. Do you find that that's really important to spine health, or am I just wishful thinking?
No, that's not you. It's totally true. In fact, I can tell the difference on a horse who's mostly stalled and one who's mostly turned out just by how free his joints are, how flexible and easy they move. You could bring me a horse randomly, and I could tell you if they were stalled or not.
Wow.
It makes a big difference. Just because moving around, it just moves that joint fluid, because, joint fluid has to be flushed out, and so that new joint fluid can come in on every single joint. So if they're just standing around a stall, or they're just standing, in a little turnout, just not moving, then that joint fluid doesn't get turned over. And so it just gets stiffer and stiffer. It's kind of sad. So, yeah, they all need turnout if we can do it all possible.
Well, one of the things I really liked in the book was at the very end, the appendix is actually the flow charts that you have in here. Mm-hmm. I've never seen it presented quite that way before, where it'll take, as the horse short striding at a trot, and it actually goes through what you should do, in relation, and which page of the book you'll find it on. So it's like, check this, and what was the answer, yes or no, and then it goes, well, if it was no, check this. It really is. Yeah. That really is intuitive, the way it's laid out here.
Yeah. I love those flow charts.
I thought those were really helpful. I couldn't believe they put them in the back, honestly. But that's just how my brain works. I read a lot, and I synthesize information to the simplest possible thing. Then I can't remember why I made that decision. Tell you, this is the way it works. You should probably edit that.
What is are you kidding? Our flaws are in here. Yours might as well be too. Hey, what is the one thing in the book that you would say is something that it's the most common thing you see, or it's something that we should be checking, with our horses on a weekly basis? What is that one thing that it jumps out at you?
That is a tough one.
Okay.
Sometimes the book's maybe a little bit overwhelming, because there's 27 body checkups, as I call them. But when you take out the leg joints, there's only 12. Hopefully that's not too intimidating. But, once you learn all these, even just the 12, you can go through your horse in under 2 minutes and do these.
Oh, really?
You get the hang of it. Yeah, it's fast. You just say, oh, yeah, you're in the right place. Yep, check, got that, done. If you only picked one or two, and really the Atlas or the pole, as people call it, that the atlas and the sacrum, so the head and the butt, are the 2 points of the body where the spinal cord is really tied in. They're basically the anchor points. So if those anchor points are off, then slowly but surely other things will unravel for you. So if you could only do the atlas and the sacrum, that'd be simple. That would take you 30 seconds.
Okay.
And certainly with checking anytime you have a problem, anytime you think, my horse is just not going forward, or, why is my horse acting funny? And just check his head. Maybe his head's crooked. That'll be easy.
I should do that for myself.
Where do people buy the book?
That's hilarious. You can buy it wherever.
I had so much to come back
sold.
with that one, too, and I just left it alone. I just let it ride. I was like, okay, I don't need to get more trouble today.
That's because you're off the sugar now. You're
That's
smart.
right.
Brains
Oh, that's great.
Dr.
Oh, my
Tucker, where
gosh.
can people
Yeah, you
buy
can
it?
buy it anywhere. You can buy it at Amazon. You can buy it at any horse bookstores. They're trying to get them everywhere, so, yeah.
And I've seen it at tack shops locally here, too. So it's called Where Does My Horse Hurt? A hands-on guide to evaluating pain and dysfunction using chiropractic methods by Dr. Renee Tucker, and that's Renee. So if you want to look that up online, well, we appreciate you being on. I think it's a great book. It as I said, it looks like it's horse husband and horse person approved.
Thank you very much.
2
You guys
thumbs up.
appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Tucker. Wow, what a fun show today, Helena. We had some great guests. We didn't have to do much work. They were chatty ones, and we love that.
No kidding. We like that someone else driving.
It's like, when we get the guests that give us yes or no answers, it makes our job much tougher. Today, we could just sit back and listen to some great storytellers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a fisherman's daughter, a horsewoman,
Yes,
a veterinarian.
That's right.
A writer.
I really did like Jody's stories. I could listen to her all day, and you can tell. I love when we have guests that are truly, truly passionate. In Jody's case, it was about her town and her family, but she was so passionate. It just comes across, doesn't it? It jumps out of the radio at you.
Yep.
Yeah, and she definitely did. Jody's obviously welcome to come back anytime. Now I want to go to Destin. She's like the one-woman tourist bureau for Destin, Florida.
One woman tourist bureau. She's pretty good, man. Yeah, she likes where she lives.
Yeah, and it's what she'd say about 5 hours from us. So I guess we're going to have to go place a visit here one of these weekends.
That's a 3-day weekend. Yeah, you can do it.
We can do that.
Sure.
Very good. And Jennifer can bring her horse along.
Yes, she can. It's a long trip for Beaker, but whatever. He'll be all right.
It's true. Well, that's it. We've run out of time for this week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Don't forget you can find all of the show notes for today's show at stablescoop.com, including all the links to our guests. And you can find all of the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. I did want to remind everybody to listen on iTunes. You just go to iTunes, the podcast section, and search for Stable Scoop, and it'll pop up. You just hit the subscribe button, and you can have it automatically downloaded to your iPhone or your iPod every single week. And did I miss anything, Jen? You want to give out our
Jen? You're going to call me Jen?
Yeah, Jennifer.
Yeah, really.
Helena, did I miss anything?
You probably did, but email address. Yes, you can. You can, if you want to write to Glenn, you can email him at glenn@horseradionetwork.com. That is your email address, isn't it?
Yes. 2 N's.
I don't even pay attention anymore. Or you can send me feedback. Just tell me you love me, and you can send that to helena@horseradionetwork.com. And what else? You can follow us on Facebook. You said that already under Stable Scoop. You gave us our Twitter ID,
Twitter
right?
is Horse Radio. Yep.
Horse Radio.
Yep.
I think that's all we got, right?
Yeah,
that's about it.
All right. Well, then until next week.
Until next week.
Happy
No, Glenn, you're supposed to say, that's it for this week.
Oh. Well, Helena, that's it for this week.
Well, that's plenty, Glenn. Until then, no, wait, crap. Until next week. Wait, how does it go again? We've only done this 380.
I think that's plenty, but there will be more next week.
Until then, happy scooping.